We had a kid come in from high school. He was 78, 82 miles an hour. Evan sent me to watch this is when we were at Fleenor. He sent me to watch this kid. And I'm sitting there watching this 6'2", 220-pound kid flicking in 80. I'm like, what am I looking at? He's like, trust me, coach, trust me, coach, trust me, coach. That kid comes in, 78, 82, senior year, he's 96 miles an hour. He's a draft pick in Arizona Diamondbacks. That's amazing. 78 to 82. Now, granted, you never know what a kid's work ethic is. We don't have his dedication to it, and this kid was a relentless worker, but it was in there. And Evan he has the ability to see this stuff. So there was one movement. Now, granted, the weightlifting was a big part of it. That's one thing I did figure out after a while. I thought at first it was the weighted balls, and quite honestly, I thought it was all the weighted balls. But once I finally realized that about 75% of your velocity gains are going to be happening in the weight room, okay, which, we'll get to a big portion of what I'm trying to teach here. A lot of that stuff is going to come from the weight room as well. But there's obviously some mechanical things that we have to do to achieve that. Okay, so I brought Evan with me from USC Sumter to Fleenor. Went to Fleenor. They only had 3 draft picks in the history of the program. In my last 4 years there, we had 7, and 6 of those were pitchers. And it was all the same thing. Guys coming in, they were 85 to 88. We had 96. We had a left-hander top out at 97. There were 25 scouts there, cross-checkers, all kinds of stuff. So that day, we opened up the season in 2017, I believe. We're playing Belmont Abbey. They're ranked in the country. There are 25 scouts there. Again, those cross-checkers. This is who we ran out. We ran out a senior who he became a starter for the first time, full-time, as a senior. He ended up being the pitcher of the year in the South Atlantic Conference that year, first ever in Fleenor history. He was 5'10". He was topping out at 96 that night. We brought in, that was Thomas St. Clair's, who's coaching in the Texas Rangers organization right now. We brought in John Luke Curtis, left-hander, came into us. He was 85, 86, left-hander. He topped out at 97 that night. And then we followed that up with Tad Ratliff, who's still in the Royals organization. And I think he topped out at 96 or 97. So those are the 3 arms we ran out. Division II school, those are the 3 arms we ran out that night. 2 of them got Thomas St. Clair to the Cardinals, John Luke Curtis, 8th round to the Braves, and then Tad didn't like school a whole lot, so he actually signed as a free agent after his junior year. But he's had some injuries the last couple of years, unfortunately, but he's been up to 99. But I say this term a lot, okay? Some of you guys probably heard this. Success leaves clues. I love that phrase. Success leaves clues. Okay, watch what other successful people are doing and try to emulate that. Okay? If you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. Okay? If you want to be a millionaire, don't hang out with guys that, people that baseball coaches. Yeah, absolutely. Don't hang out with people that make $30,000 a year, So, but success leaves clues. And this is why I just thought, because I had the answer right in front of me. And I didn't see it. And the cool thing about this is about 2 months ago, and understand, I'm 30 years in. And this is what you younger guys, all different ages, just please keep learning. That's what I stress to you. When you feel like you know it all, again, you need to do something else. That is one of the many, many cool things about our sport, is that you can continue to learn all the time. And again, 30 years in, I learned this 2 months ago, saw it on my own, light bulb went off, did some more research, and it was like, holy crap. Okay, so if you ask a kid this, hey, you want a flatter swing, you want more pitch recognition, you want more swing adjustability, they'll all be like, yeah. But if you say, do you want more power? They'll come out of their skin and go, yes, give me more power. Okay, that's what I think I have found. Now, what's weird about this is, since I found it, now it's starting to be all over social media. We had a young man go home for Christmas, Thanksgiving break, work with a bunch of pro guys. He said, Coach, it was a hilarious experience working with some pro guys. And this I think he's a minor league hitting instructor. He comes up to me and goes, hey man, have you ever heard of the hinge? He's like, yeah, my coach has actually been teaching that to us the last couple months. Now it's all the rage in professional baseball. But there's some guys, and I'll show just a couple pictures. Again, I'm not tech savvy, I just brought a couple still shots. Okay, but there's some guys that are doing it. Okay, and they've been doing it for a long time. I was just too dumb to recognize it. Some of you guys might look at it and go, you know what, yeah, we teach that. And that's okay. All right, I just figured it out, and we have our power numbers this fall. And this is embarrassing, but we only hit 17 home runs last year in a 50-game schedule. 17 home runs. Now, we played a fairly big yard. 17 home runs is embarrassing. All right, we hit 14 this fall in like 10 games. So something's working. Something's working. But and back to my point about that, I was going to tell you about what we're trying to do at Thomas University. Before I go further, I will tell you. So in NAI baseball, if you're not real familiar with it, top 25 teams in the league or in the country are built mainly on transfers. Okay, D1 after D1 after D1, JUCOs. Okay, financially, we can't do that. We can take some guys here and there, which I actually got in the summer, but at the end of the day, we can't have 20, 25, 30 transfers in our program. So I'm trying to build an NAI program, a top 25 NAI program off of youth. Okay, it started last year. We had a nationally ranked recruiting class last year, and I love these kids, and I ran them out there every day. 750 at-bats from true freshmen last year. True freshmen. Here's the scariest part. 65% of our innings on the mound last year, true freshmen. Now, if you're at a junior college, no big deal. Four-year school. And not just a four-year school, an NAIA school where literally the 4-hole hitter from Southeastern is walking in with both his kids. Okay, full beard. It was hilarious. I got to tell the story. We get done playing, I think it was St. Thomas last year, and my fiance asked me, she said, so do you have to have a beard to play at St. Thomas? I mean, literally, we're talking grown-ass men. And I'm running out dudes that aren't even shaving yet. All right? So about halfway through the year, I kind of had to talk to myself and said, okay, don't make them hate baseball. You said you were going to do this, so you got to stick with it and ride it out. Now, Coach Fox, Eric Fox, my head assistant, at probably multiple points, I looked at Eric and said, Eric, when I mentioned, again in the future, that I want to build the program off the true freshmen, please punch me right square in my face. Because it was awful. It was awful. But at the end of the year, postseason meetings, we were 19-31, couldn't win a game in the South Sun Conference to save our life. But to a man, everybody came in, Coach. You know, yeah, it was a rough season, but we know what it takes now. We know what it takes. We know what it takes. We know what it takes. And 95% of those kids came back. The right ones came back, and we should check back in May. I said I haven't always been a loser. We're going to be a lot better. But the cool thing is about having such a young group is everything you tell them. I mean, they're hanging on every word because it's college baseball now. Okay, so these kids have learned tremendously. Even when even like almost a year and a half into them being here, I go, hey guys, I got something new, and that something new is the hinge. All right. So when I go back to the pitching part, one of that movement that I was talking about that was consistent with all of our pitchers was this movement right there. That movement right there. Here, that movement. Okay? It looks simple. Looks like a simple movement, right? But watch a kid throw like this and see the difference between that and that. It's literally a loading of the back hip. You're loading everything in this area. And they end up like this, right? This is their lower half when they finish. What else does that look like? So, that was that one movement that I'd seen time after time after time, and even seen kids myself not being a prototypical pitching guy, and I'd go, hey, he's not hinging. He needs to hinge more. Okay, and sometimes they don't hinge that well because of strength level. Sometimes they're not strong enough to hinge properly and put enough weight into that actual hinge. Okay, there's where the weightlifting obviously comes in. Okay, and understand that just because you execute the hinge doesn't make you a 20 home run guy. Okay, I've got everywhere from a 210-pound senior to a 125-pound freshman, and he's only 125 pounds if he's soaking wet and has rocks in his pocket. Okay, so he's not going to go from hinging to hitting bombs. He's going to go from hinging to getting the ball out of the damn infield. Okay, and occasionally a ball in the gap, but you got you guys that actually have some power already. Now this hinge, you can actually make mistakes and get balls in gaps and get it out of the park. Okay? I don't want to go too fast to get over my, okay, I think we're good. All right, so, here we go. See this position right here. And I got the red lights off. This is the extent of my, and of course I can get that to work. Look at that. Screwed it up, Mr. Philly. See? I think I got rid of the signal and everything. Yeah, I don't know what I do either, honestly. Here we go. Okay, beautiful.
Why don't you let me operate this ball?
Okay, good. All right. Can we go to the first photo, please? Okay, so here's, and this is right before I know it. Again, I'm trying to get still shots off of a video. Okay, but he's almost at foot strike. Okay, this is position. The key point here, this is a great verbal for your guys. Keep your knee over your ankle. Okay, not knee over your toe, not knee inside your foot, but knee over your ankle. You can literally make this guy a pitcher and it's going to be almost the same movement. Okay? The ability, it almost looks like, when I looked at it before I did much research, it looks like his leg is pointing this way, like his thigh is pointing this way. And literally, when I heard the cue about keeping your knee over your ankle, I'm like, okay, well that makes a lot more sense. Okay, now the timing of the hinge is just like a pitcher. A pitcher's, their time to the plate different, their tempo. You got guys that are, rush it, with a slide step or what have you. It's the same thing with hitting. Okay, so if I'm a short stride guy, my hinge happens pretty early. If I'm a leg kick guy, my hinge happens on the way down. Okay, Harper, he's gone from leg kick to toe tap, all that kind of stuff. His hinge happens, it looks like it happens late, but it's all based off of when that front foot is getting down. Okay, you want to be loaded in that back hip when that front foot gets down. So again, it's just like a pitcher. If I got a slower leg kick, I'm not hinging until I go that way. If I've got a faster leg kick, I'm hinging quicker. So that's the timing of the hinge. All right, is he a leg kick guy? Is he just a stride and gain ground guy? That's the timing for that. It's amazing what that position can lead to. Maximum balance. We also have separation, okay, just like in pitching. Hip-shoulder separation. It's kind of a myth. It's almost impossible to actually have hip-shoulder separation, but you just want to get as close as possible. But as hitters, this is us trying to achieve that hip-shoulder separation. So as we hinge, okay, we're obviously going back this way as our front foot is going back. Okay, now we're loaded. Now we're coiled. Okay, this is us summoning up power, energy, whatever it may be, and our ability. For me, this is a really great feel thing too. I talk a lot about feel versus real, especially when I get to the swing, and I don't know if I'll get to talking about the swing at all today, but feel versus real. Okay, I think this is a really good feel thing for a kid because you can tell if you're in that back leg or not, or in that back hip. Okay, I'm going to show you guys 5 drills today that you can use, but the cool thing about it is there's so many different things you can do to teach this. Be creative. Be creative. Again, you never know what's going to turn that light bulb on for a kid. Okay, but power, swing adjustability, the ability to stay back. So a lot of times as coaches, we say, hey, get your weight back. But we don't tell them where to put it, how far back to put it, and this is what it usually leads to. Watch this back knee. Here, when that front foot lands, look at the difference. Look at the difference between this and that. That's a world of difference. Okay? Well, Coach, you told me to get back. Yep, I did. Good job, Johnny. It's literally like a wasted motion. So like, there's no power there. And it's wild how differently I look at hitting videos now that I know this. I pick it up right away. And again, I felt so comfortable about this to present it to all my guys and said, hey, guess what? This is what we're going to do. And every time I've seen them since, I'm in the weight room with them, hey guys, hey, there's something else I figured out about the hinge, the timing, or it's something every day that I see this, okay? Because I want to be able to, if the kids don't, we know, if the kids don't believe you, if they're not believable, they're not going to jump on board. Our guys, they've jumped on board, especially when I go, hey, when this guy does it, that's great. We can't just look at major league hitters and go, hey, this guy does this and this guy does. They don't even know what they do half the time. Some of the worst people you can talk to about hitting is the guy that's been in the big leagues for 15 years. Because they literally don't know. Like when Josh Donaldson came on years ago on MLB Network and he was talking about getting the ball in the air and this and that, and you gotta, and I'm like, bro, you got one of the flattest swings in the major leagues. You don't do that. You literally don't do that. That's where that whole real versus feel thing is. Guys, they're just really good. There's this thing called barrel feel. It's the best kind of feel you can have. You can have an angled swing, you can have a flat swing, you have all kinds of different swings. If you have barrel feel, it don't matter what you're doing, because you're really good. You're really good. So sometimes those big league guys, most of the time, those big league players, probably the worst you could talk to about hitting. Okay? All right, let's go to the next one. All right, there you go. So there's Bryce. There's Bryce at foot strike as well. Again, notice the top half, you can't leave out the top half. Okay, that's no matter how guys start, hands down, barrel here, whatever it may be. Like this is the position you're shooting for. This is not just like, well, that's Bryce Harper. No, that's what you're shooting for. If I'm here, I'm loaded up. And the cool thing is, like, if you just physically put yourself in this position, like, man, I can do so many things from this. I can play defense, I can play linebacker, some of that athletic stance I talk about. Okay, this is pretty daggone athletic when it comes to hitting. And look, knob pointing at the catcher. Hands are completely loaded. We still got flexion in the front arms, not barred out. Obviously, if we get into a little bit of the swing path, and I do want to mention that from here, and understand, I taught things differently before. I'm not afraid to say, hey, I made a mistake. I could have taught that better. This stuff to me is really awesome, especially when it gets to the swing plane, and I'm teaching. I don't know. Again, I may not even get into that. But bottom line is, I'm trying to reach the kids. It doesn't matter how much we know or what we know. All that matters is what we're teaching the kids, how much they retain, and how much they know. Because at the end of the day, those are the ones out there actually playing the game and winning and losing ball games. Every now and then we'll screw up and try to lose a big. What you got?
So from this type of